Welcome to season 3 of the Home and Life Design Summit, where we are embodying art and beauty to create more joy. I am your host, Fallon Jordan, and I am just so grateful that you are here. And I am so grateful to have my friend and colleague, Marissa Lada, back in the summit. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me come back. Honestly, it was such a treat last time, and I'm so excited about this one. So when you reached out, I was like, of course.
Yay. And we're going to talk about your background in a second. I want to read your bio and not get distracted.
Of course.
Marissa is a holistic designer and home coach. She is so fun to follow on Instagram. We were just talking about that. So definitely add her there. She works as an interior designer and a certified Feng Shui consultant, helping others improve the relationship they have with their homes for better health, happiness, and energy. And she offers do-it-yourself courses, Feng Shui consultants, and full holistic health programs in a custom container, which you can definitely learn more with her website as well, because when she says whole holistic, she is not messing around. Like, you really cover all of the bases, which just means a lot to me because it's so important to see everything and everyone that's involved and how we can make a difference.
Yeah, and that was really just like because with my background, for context too, I went to school for interior design. That's the only kind of what I knew about homes is like how they look. But then upon my own holistic home journey, I was like, there's more to homes than just aesthetics. It's how they make us feel. It's the energy. It's, decluttering and organizing and all of those different aspects of a home. So that's why I was really like looking at homes in that holistic perspective, which, what we may be focused on in one area. So for example, if someone comes for interior design, it's like, yeah, the energy will be impacted and affected, and how we organize the space too also impacts the aesthetics. So it is all connected, and that's, kind of my journey in presenting that to clients that are interested.
I love it. And I love when we meet and I see your reels because I never know like where you're going to be and what your background's going to look like. And I love the wood background, which is super feng shui. Do you want to share a little bit about your literal journey right now?
I know. Yes, because we were just chatting about this. So, yes, the background that you see is of my camper van. So, I have definitely had my own journey with like my living situations and the spaces that I've created for myself. This was not the start, but it definitely was a huge one of building out a camper van and making it really cozy and something that helped me. So yes, the whole concept with my van is wood, just like makes you feel like you're in a log cabin. But we were just chatting about the energy of the wood element in feng shui, and that is all about like growth, moving forward, just like a lot of active energy, and just a little ironic, maybe not ironic, but being in a van that is constantly moving and going places. So there's definitely some intention with this design choice.
I love it. And so when we're talking about embodying art and beauty, I mean, there's a reason I wanted you to come because I feel like you just do that with your essence. So what are some things that you've been doing maybe differently since the last time we talked with some of the clients that you're working with and then also with your van?
Yes. Gosh, like art and beauty is such a big concept too. Something that I've honestly done and maybe just have done more of too. Like one, creating spaces is very aesthetic, or like that's how most of us view it. So there's definitely always like me doing that with spaces and helping clients. But it's not so much about like how our spaces look too. Like I like to embody just like living a beautiful life, or living a life that I view as beautiful. So that's where I kind of term it as like creating magical moments for myself or weaving that in with clients. So, for example, like you see probably like the Instagram reels and of those beautifully curated lifestyles, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want that. Like you can totally do that for yourself. And that's something that I've been really conscious of in like a lot of my product choices, what I'm bringing into my space, and not just interior design wise, but like, the tiny decor that you see behind me too. There's so much intention, and it's creating those little magic moments throughout your day that really bring that art and beauty to the day to day. Like having a ritual in the morning for yourself, whether that's having a cup of coffee and like sitting down and really enjoying it, or, taking a bubble bath, or, making yourself a green smoothie, just something that you're doing for yourself and you're putting that intention into it. So that's like an aspect of the life and beauty that I live by, aside from just like all the work I do with clients and, making their homes beautiful.
I love that. And I love how you said like adding a little bit of magic just like into your life. What's something recent would you say where you just kind of had like a magical, maybe unexpected moment?
Like in just synchronicities or things happening, or things that I've done to make my life
Both.
more magical. Both.
Please.
Um, yeah, so for myself, actually, this is not a product placement, but I recently just got a little Bluetooth radio. It's something that, like, adding music to your space actually really helps too, to create a sort of mood and environment. So I've always loved, especially in the winter time, I'm a seasonal music person. So like in the winter time, I put on all the jazz music because it just gets me in that like really cozy. Yes, and I'm not like a Christmas music, but like jazz, I'm just like, that is my Christmas holiday vibe. So summertime, I'm like starting to implement more music into my van too while traveling, and it just helps too, being on the road. Like, one, my space is really, for me, and I love being in here, but adding the music just adds this extra element that makes it more magical. Plus the speaker itself like looks so vintage and cute. It kind of works with my aesthetic. So it's just like one of those. It makes me happy to look at. It makes me happy to hear. It creates this awesome moment. So that's something I like have been doing more for myself, is like putting on the music while I'm just cooking or, doing some work around in my van. But then stuff that's happened kind of magically. I mean, just with traveling too, you always have unexpected things when traveling, and sometimes they're like the most magical. You wouldn't have expected it. I'm trying to, not that this was necessarily a magical moment, but just, I think you knew because you saw my Instagram, and I have posted, I had some van troubles. I got stationed and stuck for a bit in for Memorial Day weekend, and honestly that was somewhat of a magical, like, kind of silver lining experience, because while I was like, great, now I have to go see a mechanic, because I have been doing a lot and like living more yang centered, like doing the house project that you've seen. It has been really nice to have that moment to like just stop and do nothing, because I couldn't physically drive anywhere. So I was like, all right, we're going inward. We're like resting and restoring our energy while my van is not being able to move.
Totally. Yeah. I know my car broke down at like the worst time, but like it was actually the best time because I needed to like really just embody what was actually happening to me and like feel my feelings. The one day a year that I take both of my animals to the vet is when the car decided to go. And I was like,
Oh,
sitting in the car with my dog and my cat. So when I see people
wow.
breaking down, I'm like, it's so funny how spirit works because you never know why it's
Yeah.
going to happen the way that they do.
That is crazy. But yes, like, just the universe and being like, all right, that's where, at least from Feng Shui, like that is the whole a balance, like trying to regain balance. So like I knew kind of conscious or subconsciously and now consciously that I was going way more young. I was like constantly being active, and like the universe was like, no, 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 we got to balance you. We got to get more like rest and processing and all of that stuff. So the universe does autocorrect.
So I pulled a card from Tracy L. Clark's Body Regen deck. She's in the summit too. And I pull a card from her deck every day. I'm obsessed with it. And I pulled Align to Your Elements and I just like started laughing. I was like,
Today you did that?
yeah, like I was like,
Oh,
if there's anything special I need to know for like this conversation, like please let me know. And it's like Align to Your Elements. And I'm like, obviously we're gonna do that.
oh my gosh. And yeah, even beforehand, I mean, I was the one who brought up like the wood chi in terms of the van.
Yes, I love it so much. So I'm
Yeah.
curious too, just, because when people think art, there's some people who think art of like actually art on the walls, however much money they just spend on them, like the emotional, beautiful moments that they have. Do you work with clients where they're kind of having that process of like, should I buy art? Should I actually get rid of some art because it's like not making me feel good? Like, I'm just curious, like what you see with that specific like relationship with art and clients?
Yeah. With art, I mean, gosh, art can be so personal. And
Yeah.
I hate yeah, I actually hate suggesting art because while I can find something that goes with the aesthetic, like say I'm, helping someone with their living room furniture and we're doing like decor and art. I don't personally like suggesting. I can kind of show like, hey, maybe these are colors you want to bring in or shape or whatever it is. But because it's so personal and because I like strongly focus on intentional items that we bring in and not just decor and art for the sake of just filling a space, because that kind of goes down into clutter eventually, where it's like, wow, I just have this tchotchke I picked up from like Home Goods and I have no connection to it other than I needed to fill my bookcase.
Right.
So I really like more of just giving suggestions and also like, yeah, working with stuff clients already have, maybe finding a certain space in their home that it goes, whether it's for, the aesthetic, but also the feng shui and like the energy of that piece, especially because art can be so powerful and such an easy cure to implement in terms of your home's feng shui. But also just to declutter too, like there's stuff that we hold on to that no longer serves us, even with art and decor, things that we've gotten from family members or photos of memories we've had, or like maybe we like to collect certain items. Like I was working with a woman who loves llamas, but going through, she's like, I probably don't need this many llama things, and we might want to get rid of some stuff, especially going through like the deeper reasons of why we hold on to items or have a hard time letting go of items. If it's guilt, if it's, I spent money on this, and if I get rid of it, I'm, essentially throwing that money out the door. So there's so many reasons to that process. But all in all, yes, I do work with people and art.
I love that. And yeah, just the concept too of I spent money on this, I invested. You think of that with your relationships, right? Like, well, I was
Yeah.
my husband for 20 years. I invested all this time. And it's like, you're never wasting anything. You're always exactly where you're meant to be. And that's why I just love the process that you go through with your clients of just like making those connections between everything being energy and experiences, materials, objects. Like it's all the same.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it like all boils down. I mean, you would know working with the mind too, like it's so much mindset. And that's where it's like, yes, it can manifest into like having a hard time getting rid of, clothing that you haven't worn in 10 years. Or it could be having a hard time letting go of a relationship or letting go of just, a job that you got fired from or something. It's so much of the same patterns in our mind and having to overcome them.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I mean, I follow a lot of people and have a pretty amazing large network, but when I think of someone who's just like naturally beautiful, like you're at the top of that list.
Oh,
People are thinking that. So just kind of curious, like, what do you do to take care of your energy to look the way that you do? Especially on the,
uh,
like, I could have my makeup professionally done in like a few hours in a car. I just like feel gross. I don't know if that's just, but like, you always look so stunning.
oh my God, thank you. Well, this is like funny perspective wise because, yeah, like I've definitely learned to love myself, more. Like, I think the confidence thing has been huge. Like, I haven't shared this, and we were actually talking about our zodiac and like not to, use my zodiac signs as an excuse, but like being very Scorpio energy, I'm like, I don't like to share a lot of personal life stuff. It's not that I'm like reserved in any way. I'm like an open book. And if you prompt me, I will share. But yeah, I used to actually struggle a lot with like my image and like the beauty standards and all of that. Like I'm sure a lot of women do. Had an eating disorder in college, and that, yeah, just like having that sort of pushed down upon me, it was very hard. But I could also tell because of my energy and my mental health too. Like I, maybe appearance wise I look the same, but there's like that deeper feeling of energy where you can see someone, you're like, wow, they just like, they're so attractive, and it's not even physical. It's just like they radiate this energy that's so magnetic. And that's a lot what beauty has kind of looked like for me, is just that like inner fire that kind of gives you that glow that lights you up from the inside. But in terms of like physical beauty routine and stuff, a huge thing has honestly been my diet. I've being in holistic homes, I'm into holistic health. And I just kind of got this understanding that our food is connected to our bodies, and it does, improve our moods and even like our skin and all of that. So I really cut back on a lot of the processed foods and refined sugars and all of that. Like I still can't get rid of coffee, unfortunately. I'm like being in Washington too, in the Pacific Northwest, it's like you might go to jail if you don't drink coffee. I don't know. But a lot is diet, exercise, kind of the normal things. But then I just really get rid of the chemicals. Like I'm a very holistic, natural person. So yeah, I don't really wear a lot of makeup. Not that I'm opposed to makeup or people that do. My mom actually was like a beauty consultant where she was like a part of the, Mary Kay and Avon and that sort of thing. So I was like, definitely had a lot of that influence early on, but really just like natural things that aren't going to damage my skin, like wearing your sunscreen, but using natural sunscreen too. It's kind of crazy when I found out how many chemicals are in stuff we put on our skin, like our beauty products and our personal care. I think it's on average, women put about 12 products on a day. And
Wow.
from those 12, there's 156 chemicals in those, yeah. So I was like, oh, I
Wow.
probably, and being that our skin is our largest organ and we absorb so much, there kind of was that connection of like, I probably want, like, if I'm not going to ingest this like internally, I don't know if I really want to have it on my skin. So doing natural things like coconut oil, also just like as you might have seen on my Instagram, I'm like huge into making natural stuff. So I've made like apple cider vinegar face toners and, stuff for my hair and all sorts of things. So that's also another way you can kind of bring magic into your life too, is like if you're someone that's really big into crafting, like making your own natural products, and like that's such a beautiful connection too you can have to like being more aware of what you're putting on your body and what you're ingesting and just like where these things come from.
I love that. So I'd love to go a little bit back of when you first realized that you were a creator, like you were an artist.
Probably from childhood. I grew up in a very artistic house. Like my mom went to school for art. We all, like me and my sister, she is an artist, like, does paintings and all of that. And I actually never considered myself an artist, especially like because I compared to her and I was more, yeah, maybe the creator, just because I had so many ideas and I love to see them be brought to life. And it didn't necessarily have to be like the traditional artist route of like, paper or pottery or canvas or whatever. But from that, I just really pursued more of that creativity because I think because it was nourished at a very early age, I felt like this is something that really like speaks to my soul, and that's who I am. I'm someone that like lives through my heart, lives through my passion. I can't dim that down. I have to like just share that. So I think having that at an early age helped me to pursue, where I'm at today.
Yeah. And especially making that choice to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. That maybe wasn't so, that was universe intervening, I will say. Because I never thought I would actually be an entrepreneur. I was definitely a part of like the systems of you get a good job or get good grades, go to good school, get a good job, that sort of trajectory. And maybe there was just something always like with the holistic connections wanting to try to do that, but especially in corporate world, it felt like I was trying to fit my beliefs like a square peg into a round hole. It didn't quite align. And then the universe was just like, all right, it's time for you to do your own thing. So like with the pandemic, I was let go of my job, but within a week, was like started my own business. I like that decision was so instant for me. It was like, okay, this is clearly a sign, start my own business. And here we are. So I kind of needed a push from the universe.
That's so amazing. And yeah, there's been so many people that I've only known them like, a year or two, and they had just become this completely different person from the pandemic. So it's been kind of beautiful to be like, oh, this is the way that I feel like you've probably always been. And it's like, no, it's like super, just like happened very, very quickly, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, I've met a lot of people with that same experience, and I like from the energetic or maybe spiritual way of looking at it, I did see of like there's just a lot of things crumbling down, a lot of people waking up, which I was like, yes. But also for me, I didn't think not to say I wouldn't be a part of it, because like I've had a few kind of death and rebirth cycles in my life. Hello, Scorpio energy. Um, but this was huge, and I think sometimes needed to kind of push you out of your comfort zone and to like have you step into your potential, because I look where I'm at now and I'm like, I couldn't go back to doing what I was doing. Like I feel so much more fulfilled in what I do and who I work with and all of that. So it was definitely like a push, but like, really showed me what I was made of.
I love that. And I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs here. So do you have anything you want to share just to give them motivation, whether they're new or been doing it for 20 or 30 years?
Um, I mean, this is something that I constantly it's brought into my consciousness because, as someone who works in spaces and environments, I like to say like, your environment impacts you, but that's also like who you surround yourself with. And that's something I noticed, especially at the start of my journey. Not to say I'm not friends with, people like former coworkers and people who work normal 9 to 5s, but I kind of noticed this shift in my energy as I was moving more towards an entrepreneurial track. I was connecting with all of these other entrepreneurs, and there was just this like collective energy of like, yes, I'm stepping into this. I want to be surrounded by this energy more, because like attracts like. So that's kind of my thing is, if you don't have groups of entrepreneurs that like there's so many networking groups, there's so many different sort of support groups, there's business coaches, like all of that, to help you kind of step into that frequency.
Totally. And I'm grateful that we have a lot of them on the summit with us.
Yes, I know.
So I would love to hear more about your gift and how helpful it can be for everybody, because it might not be what they are thinking.
Yes. So yeah, because I as we've talked about, do a lot of different like holistic packages, offerings, because everyone's home is different. But this is something that the more people I've come across struggle with, which is declutter. Typically too, it's even the first step that I recommend if I'm doing a feng shui consultation, to be honest. And
Yeah.
people are like, how do I improve the flow of energy? And I'm seeing like, oh, there's a lot of stagnant energy from like just the pools of clutter here and there. So that's kind of first step. So whether you're looking to feng shui or just, stressed from your clutter situations, I am offering my free decluttering guide, just to help you get started on that process, because it can be so overwhelming. Like the decluttering process, as we were talking about with like so many things connected back to the mind, that is huge, as like, how to overcome those mental roadblocks, how to go through a letting go process. I have a questionnaire on there too, which is extremely helpful because it goes through those deeper reasons why we hold on to things like
Yeah.
emotionally or psychologically, and has like prompts to get you into that self-reflective state. Like, when is the last time I've actually used, this art set from college? Will I use it in 3 months? Probably not. So it actually asks you more logical questions too, to help you get into a more, okay, I probably should get rid of this. So that is my gift. It's so, so useful, especially for people who have tried a decluttering process before and, constantly kind of keep repeating that cycle, because it all is, again, the mind.
I love that. That's so generous, because it is really about asking those questions. I mean, that's like that's one of the biggest things that we do with our clients, right? It's just asking the questions, like holding space for them. So it's really amazing that you're like just listing them out, because you get so caught in your head, right? It's like that guilt, shame, that amygdala just kind of goes off when you're like, am I going to use this? Am I not going to use this? I don't know what to do with it. So I love that we have this beautiful workbook with all of your loving energy infused into it.
Yes, and that's like so true, is that we just get sometimes frozen in those moments of like, I don't know what to do with it. I'm just not going to do anything at all.
Yeah.
Which again is that mindset aspect. So that's like with the holistic aspect that I do in so much of my work, like especially with decluttering, that's like what I love to focus on, because you can get decluttering tips off of like, a website, a blog, but to truly like step into that, like, oh, deeper shadow work almost with decluttering. That's what I like to sometimes say, is like, ready to do some shadow work while you're like, purging your closet. Yes, you will.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love it though. It's so amazing. And it's almost like when you start to realize how much every single little item in your home is impacting your health and your relationships, and you feel those shifts so drastically, it's hard to allow the clutter to come back in. Like you are definitely more choosy, like I love boundaries, and it's like not just boundaries with like emotions and energy, but with actual things. Like what are the type of things that I'm going to allow in my home because it's such a secret space.
Yes, and that, I mean, being empathic too, this is something that I was very unconscious of. But like I'm someone that likes to, put personalities with my objects. Like my plants definitely have names and I like treat them as such. But that's something where it's like every item in your home should have a home, and it should be, brought with that same intention and awareness and love and care, because that's too like, we know where everything is, we can treat things better, we probably won't have things breaking as much if we're just more conscious of like the stuff we're bringing into our space.
I love that. Thing, and you can claim that super amazing loving decluttering workbook with the link below. Is there anything you wanted to share in closing, Marissa?
Um, nothing that like comes to mind. Honestly, I could probably talk forever, but I don't think so. I know we talked about a lot of beautiful things today.
Yeah, you're amazing. So grateful for you. And I just love what you're doing with your van and your life. And it's just, you really are embodying art and beauty with everything you do in such an adventurous, fun way.
Oh, thank you. And honestly, I just want more people to be doing that too, because once we understand too, like we are the creators of our reality, we can choose to live more magical lives and like live that maybe ideal dream, like Instagram reel sort of lifestyle for ourselves. Like that's the beauty that kind of shines through day by day. And that's that like inner energy glow that I was talking about, where it's like you look at, like, you don't have to do any crazy skincare stuff, although like the natural route would be awesome, but like you feel so much different.
I love that. So grateful for you.
Likewise, thank you so much.
So much for being here. And I look forward to seeing everybody else in the next conversation. Bye for now.